Grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch. No, real women don't. 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 Real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey ladies, how are you doing? Oh, it's been a great weekend for me. Over the weekend, I spoke at the I Am Enough virtual tour, and it was a really powerful, empowering event for women. And I want to talk to you all a little bit about your circle and your circumstances. Okay, your circle and your circumstances. The woman that hosted the event ended up experiencing a tragedy. See, while we're busy being worried about Corona, other things are still happening. People are having car accidents, diabetic attacks, heart attacks. People are catching other types of illnesses beyond the common cold. And so things are still happening. People are still dying. Babies are being born. Life really is going on. And for so many people, it doesn't feel like it because things have shifted. And for some of you, because you're not working, things have slowed down. But at the end of the day, life is still going on. And so last year, this woman was supposed to do her tour and she didn't do it. And so this time around, she launched her tour again. And what ended up happening is coronavirus hit and people had bought tickets to see her and some of the speakers live. She was doing, I forgot how many cities, but she was doing a tour across a bunch of different cities. Well, what ended up happening is she said, well, let me just do a virtual version of this. And I'll also invite some other women just to, keep the momentum going. And that's a beautiful thing. And I was one of the people that she asked to be a speaker at the event. And we happened to be very close. Well, unfortunately, the same day that we were supposed to all get together and do an overview and talk about, making sure we knew our positions and when to log on to Zoom and do all of that stuff. Well, earlier that day, she had spoke with me because she was extremely distraught because her grandson was in a near-death accident and was on life support. They were saying that he was brain dead, that his kidneys weren't working, and they were basically asking him to pull the plug. And the mother and the father were crazy, and she was like, I'm just going to believe the report of God. August, I know that you love God, that you pray. She was just asking for prayers. And so much stuff was going on, and her closest dear friend stepped up to the bat, making sure everything was cool, with her emails and other stuff. And so she and I were talking and she was like, I can't stop. I don't want to stop. But of course, there were just different thoughts going in her mind. And, as a friend at that moment, I did have two options to say, girl, that's your grandson, stay there, be with your children and so on and so forth. And it was like, what? I'm with you.
And I feel like this is something deeper. And basically what it all boiled down to is a serenity prayer. You ask for the serenity, you ask for the peace to accept the things that you can't change. Her sitting in that hospital worrying was not going to change her grandson's condition. But then having the courage to change the things that you can, still pushing through, having the courage and hosting her event, she was going to be changing the lives of other women, which then that would directly impact the rest of them. And so, we just talked about how if we're going to say that we trust God, we have to fall back and we trust God. And she was very, very courageous. And me as a friend, I was there to support that. And so that's why I said your circle. Some people might have been like, see, that's being all about having your wrong priorities. That's not what I saw. That's not what I felt. And the other women that were there holding her down, because it wasn't just me and the friend, quite a few people were there to support her, and I talked to her and I told her, I said, even though, her grandbaby was still alive, last year when I got ready to do the Business Mastery Summit, my grandmother passed, and that's the equivalent of my mom because that's who raised me, but I couldn't stop. So I understood where she was at and why she had to keep going, and that actually uplifted her spirits. And like she said, I can't just sit still. I have to stay busy. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. Well, that following morning, right before we got ready to go live, she reached out to me because even though they said that his kidneys weren't functioning anymore, her grandson peed on himself. And it was like, thank you. And so we went through that event and we cut up. We talked to those women about stepping in position and knowing that they're enough and doing it by any means necessary and staying firm no matter what life throws at you. And then the next thing you know, his blood pressure started going down. And so he is still recovering as I am doing this podcast right now. And so a lot of you could think that, like I said, there's some of you that may feel like some of the things that myself and other people that follow me say that we're insensitive. There are some people, they can't do this. But all I know is that no matter what it is, death or whatever, unless it's just me that actually dies, this is my soul's purpose. This is my mission. I am doing what I'm put on the earth to do. If you're doing something just so you can make some money to make sure it ends meet so that, you don't have to work for somebody else, then you may take a different stance. Both people are very valid. But most of you that follow me, what you're doing, it's not just something to make money. You are changing families, changing children, changing the education system, changing mindsets, changing, people from having a poor mindset or, being suffering from spiritual, emotional, financial trauma, and you're facilitating healing. You're helping people with their healing and teaching them how to go and grow. And so quitting absolutely is not an option. And so my question for you is, what will stop you? What's your breaking point? Because the women that I roll with, we are unstoppable. Nothing will stop us. And we keep the main thing. And I have seen so many women say, oh, but this happened, so I got to pause for a second. Oh, but this happened, so I'll be back. Not realizing that when you come back, unfortunately, you will have to start over because you will be like dust in the wind for someone else. So I'm going to leave that right there. And, whatever kind of responses you have for me on social media, whatever, let's talk about it. But there's another, just so you know, there is a segment. One of my speakers in my summit is talking about this very thing. And she was talking about how her yoga instructor, even when her father passed, that she was still showing up and people didn't know it. She was taking, isolated time to grieve, but then other time to still function and serve her tribe. And like we said, if it is your soul's mission, you can't stop. But we didn't just have a discussion, just beating it over the head. We kind of talked about things that we were going through, challenges that we've had from childhood leading up to now. The Business Mastery Summit is not just about you getting the strategic things that you need in order to be able to run your business. It is also about you getting the things that you need to help you with your spirit, with your family, your personal life, your finances, because we as women, we need the all-encompassing conversations in order for us to be able to stand as business owners. So make sure after you listen to this podcast, you go and get your ticket. This is for you to level up regardless of where you are in your business. Of course, this is something that is highly impacting for the beginning entrepreneur or the entrepreneur that has reached your own glass ceiling and you're stuck. There's a lot of revelations that may come to you, that should come to you from hearing these women speaking about how they're pushing through their circumstances, because we're not just teaching strategy, we're also talking about the challenges that we had to overcome at different layers of our walk, evolutions of our enoughness, of us being in the right position. So thank you guys always for tuning into the podcast. Don't let anything stop you, all right? I love you guys. Deuces.
Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomen.don't bitch.podcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you.